This is Norm with High Tech Kids. I'm here just kind of hosting. Basically, this meeting is going to be run by the head referees and specifically Jim Irvine, who's going to go through a little bit of a presentation. This is like a driver's meeting that you have at a tournament, but a little bit before the tournament. There will still be a driver's meeting Saturday morning before the matches start, but hopefully we can get rid of most of the questions and issues you have at this meeting and save us a little time that morning. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim and he can take over.
All right, welcome to tonight's meeting. Hopefully you're all ready or close to being ready for the tournament. It's coming up quick here. It should be fun. Congratulations on making it. You all have worked hard to get here. This presentation assumes that you've all been to one tournament, so we're not going to go through well, my presentation won't go with the rules like your robot has to touch the back of the wall and you know, there's the 3, 2, 1 countdown, stuff like that. We won't go through that like we have been doing in the previous qualifying matches, qualifying tournaments. What it will do is present observations that have been seen throughout the year in leagues and in the qualifiers. Like Norm said, there's still going to be a drivers meeting at the state tournament. And please feel free to ask questions. Just jump in and on voice or go ahead and put them in the chat. This is going to be a new venue. We've never been there. It's not Washington Middle School or any of the junior highs, so none of us know what to expect. But one thing remains the same. You need to have safety glasses on in the competition area and in the pits. It's just a safety thing and it is a rule, so you're going to have to obey it. Robots with the long arms. Watch out for going outside of the field. Of all the yellow cards, this is the one that draws the yellow cards the most. The robot swinging out, hitting one of the driver station, or swinging out so far that it makes a drive team member or a referee have to jump back. That will get you a yellow card. Back on the safety glasses thing, if you don't have the safety glasses at the field, you're given 30 seconds to walk back to your pit and get a pair. If you're not back in 30 seconds, you do not get to partake in the match and your team does not get to fill your position. That's a rule that's been going on all season, but please keep in mind, we don't know how far the pits are going to be. So make sure you have your safety glasses when you come out to the competition area. Autonomous interference. Robots are getting more and more advanced in their autonomous, and people like to go to the center line, row X, if you're used to the terminology on the pit, on the field diagrams. Robots bumping into each other is to be expected when you're out there. Just unless we think it is, we being the referees think it is a defensive tactic, it's just going to most likely fall under the GS3. That robot interference at the center line is to be expected and is allowed. So again, that's going to be one of those, the refs are going to have to take a look at it. But most of the time we've seen it this year, it's been falls right under GS3 centerline interference. Now, keep in mind with that, if you want to drive all the way, if you're a red robot and you drive deep into the blue section, well, now you've lost your protection against the GS3 protection. So anything you do that interferes with the other, you for. Touching the driver station after initialization and randomization. This should really be randomization, not initialization. Okay. If there's, well, it is after initialization, I suppose. If there's an issue, let the FTA or the ref know, especially after we've randomized the field. Don't try to fix it yourself, because if you do, you could get called for touching the GS2, and you'd get a minor penalty and no signal bonus for the offending team. So if there's anything wrong, let the FTA or referee know right away. The biggest category for penalties is the GS13, the human players. I understand it's a good spot to put some new people, and it's easy to get caught up in the moment. The human player is focused on getting the cone or the beacon out onto the field, and the drive team is focused on getting over to get a cone that's supposed to be there. You got to be careful. This, like I said, this is the most common. Communication between the drive teams and the human player is critical. The teams is bold here because you have to remember, even though the human player may be from your team, you still have to communicate with them. They need to know what you're going to do. Coaches, this is a great thing for you to do. Talk to the human player, know what your drive team's going to do. Facilitate the communication between your alliance partner, human player, and your drive team. A real simple way to avoid most violated the GS13 rules relating to having a hand in the station is that humans and robots can't coexist in the substation. So human player, if there's a robot in the substation, don't put your hand in there. Drive teams, if it looks like the human player is moving towards the putting a cone or a beacon in the substation, or still has their hand in the substation, don't put the robot in there. It's just, it sounds simple, it's an easy concept, but I fully understand in the heat of the moment, it's sometimes hard to do, but there will be consequences. Only one cone or beacon can be placed in the substation at a time. You can't stack the beacon on top of a cone outside of the substation and then introduce them into the field. That's not allowed. The cones and the beacons must be placed in the substation. So you can't reach out past the outer edge of the tape and place the beacon or the cone. No readjusting the cones or beacons once they've been placed. You can't stand them back up if they got knocked over for some reason, or you want to put it at the apex of the triangle, but your drive team wants it over on the side. You can't pick it up again and then move it over. Once a cone or beacon has been placed in the substation, the human player can't pick it up. Here's an example that'll get you in problem in a G22 is if a beacon is placed in on a substation tile, it cannot be picked up later by the human player and placed on a cone. So think about that before you put your beacons in. If you're going to put it on a cone, make sure there's a cone in there to put it on before you place the beacon. Some teams are starting to do this, but we try to catch it. No forcing the beacon on there's a concern that by forcing the beacon on the cone, you could damage it. And by damaging the cones, it changes the gameplay teams that follow. The folks at first say no forcing the beacon onto the cone. If it looks like it to the referee that you're forcing it on there, they'll probably warn you and then tell you no doing that and give you a penalty. Drive teams, don't reach into the field and point out things. That is considered in the forums that you're getting an advantage by pointing it out. So that would be a G16 penalty on that. You get a warning and a minor.
There's also a concern you'll get hit by a robot.
Yes, thanks, John. Yeah, some of them, when they get up pretty high, it can be hard at all for them to run by and hit your hand. Control. Don't control the signal cone. You can push it, you can plow, but you can't grasp it. So if we see you trying to score the cone, you're controlling it, you'll get penalized. You can only control one cone or beacon at a time. You can't, one cone and or beacon at a time, pardon me. So if you have 2 cones or 2 beacons, you're up a creek. You can only control your own alliance's beacons. You can't control the opposing alliance's beacon. Don't grasp the junction while attempting to score a cone or cap it with the beacon. So you can brace it, but you cannot reach out and grab it. Grasp it with 2-point contact. Cone stacks. This is one gotten a lot of play lately in the team forum. Especially no touching your opponent's stack of cones. Knocking over your own stack of cones is allowed. And here is the big one there's been a lot of discussion. No moving any cone stack more than 1 inch. So that means even an autonomous, if your robot goes over to get the cones and it moves it, let's say 1/4 of an inch one time, 3/4 of an inch another time, and then a 1/2 an inch the next time, and this is all in the same direction, and it's moving it away from its starting location. On that 3rd time, you will get a penalty, or if it moves it over an inch on the 1st time, it will incur penalties. This is the only rule that I've ever seen where the only time in the forum where I've ever seen the game design committee come out and say that the referees do not have the freedom to use the inadvertent and inconsequential on this. And they say because the game design committee has ruled that movement over an inch is consequential. So be very careful when you're moving this, when you're working with the stacks. Another thing, pinning the stack of cones is against the wall is considered trapping. Trapping is a form of control and is subject to G28 penalties. Warning, been a major. CQ 120 in the team-facing forums for more detail. Junction and terminal defense. Once an opposing alliance robot has a cone or beacon in the scoring area, shown by this gray area here, you can't interfere with them. Now, the caveat to that is that doesn't mean you can't also try to score on that same junction. Let's say you have your cone here and you're the red robot. Blue robot can come over you as long as they don't hit you before their cone is in there and try to score on it. I believe in the forums they call that jousting. But if it looks, be careful if it looks like you're going in there to intentionally play defense and knock it out. That now you're in the gray area, and if the referee thinks that you're interfering then instead of trying to play offense and score, you will get a GS8 penalty. And like it says down here, make your intentions and actions known to the referees on this. A big sweeping motion that you can tell that it's no way going to stop in time over that junction is probably going to be in the eyes of the referee is not an offensive tactic. Beacons. No cups, no cups, no cups, no cups. Paper cups, plastic cups, you name it, cups. Whatever you want to make a cup out of, no cups. Tape covered cups, paper covered cups, fabric covered cups. We've seen them all. No cups. And the beacon color must be predominantly same color as the alliance color. I believe in the forum it said it has a rule of thumb is 70%. So if you're on the red alliance, your beacon has to be 70% red. No sharing beacons. Last year we had a lot of teams that would bring 2 beacons, give one to an alliance partner. This year the rule has been tightened. The beacons must be a team designed item, so that rules out sharing them. A team can only score 1 beacon. So it doesn't matter which beacon on your alliance you score, you just can only score one. And for the folks out there with the really tiny, thin base beacons with a rod going up, if the referee doesn't see the beacon because it is obscured, difficult to see, or resembles a cone, then it will not be scored. Make your beacons easy to see at a distance when mixed with cones. Excuse me. We'll tell the referees to be very careful when they're looking at the field to make sure, do you see any beacons or anything? And then once that field is scored, you come up later and say, oh, we had a beacon. And then we go back to the refs and they say, we didn't see your beacon. Then that's what we're going to have to, unfortunately, we don't look at replays. So we go with what the ref says. You won't get your beacon scored. Just something to keep in mind. Other items. Robots can't hang over the top of the field at the start of the game, start of the match. The reason for that is in the rules it says you have to be completely in the tile. And so the tile does not, it ends at the field wall. So that's the rationale behind that. You have to be completely out of the substation before scoring. So if you're one of those cycling robots, make sure you don't have any robot parts in the substation when you deposit the cone on the close terminal. You have to be parked at the end of the final buzzer sound. We're seeing a lot of teams taking advantage of that last 3 seconds. But if you're still moving at the end of the 3 seconds, you'll be subject to penalties. Here's one that's tripped people up before at state. It's usually early on in the day and they figure it out by the end of the day. But there's 2 divisions running matches. We don't know what the acoustics will be like in this new facility. So make sure you pay attention to the field personnel and game sounds on your field so you know when your match starts and stops. Not only, like I said, you'll have 2 fields in one division and 2 fields in another division. So there's a lot going on. Pay attention. The schedule is going to be tight. So please be in the queue and ready to go when it's time for your match. If there's queuers, please don't give them a hard time. They're there to help you out. But ultimately, you're responsible to be on the field ready to go when your match starts. Have all your extra maintenance done. We've had teams come out with restringing, wanting to restring lifts while they're at the field. That's not gonna be allowed. Replacing parts. They're subject to the delay of the game. The way the rules read, I believe it's if the field is ready to go and we're waiting for your robot, and because you're doing maintenance or something like that, then the penalties will incur. Here's an important one. If something appears to be wrong with the field, notify the field personnel before the match starts. Don't fix it yourself. One example, let's say the randomized number is 3 and one of the referees or FTAs turns your signal to 2. Once the match starts and you get right down to the last 20 seconds and we find it, then it's going to be gray if we're going to replay that or not. We'll have to see. Once again, it's what's going on the field. So please, if you see something wrong, the signal sleeve or one of the game poles looks, one of the junctions doesn't look like it's centered in the right location. One of the vision targets is not right. Tell somebody right away and we'll get it before we'll take a look at it before the match starts. Don't fix it yourself. And other reminders. Read the game manual and the FTC forums. There's up to, what is it, 330 some, I think it is, posts in the forums with answers. Now, even if half of those are build related, that means there's 150 questions regarding game rules. So it's good to be up on them. There's some things in there like definitions that the game design committee has made. The 1-inch rule for moving the stack. Grasping is defined as 2 points of contact. Things like that. It's very important to read the forms and the rules. Remember gracious professionalism. If you're gonna win, let's win while your opponent is at their best too. Both you at your best, and you'll have a good match. Inspections on Friday and drivers meeting on Saturday are going to take place in the performance area. So I'm sure there'll be signage once you get there, but that's where it's going to be. Friday night, you'll have the field and the robot inspections there. Much like we've done at Washington, but it'll be a new venue, so keep your eyes open. On Saturday, pit judging occurs during the qualifying matches. So I know you all want to come out and watch how your team is doing, but it's best to leave somebody there so that the judges can have somebody to talk to. They're going to be on a tight schedule. So if they have a question and they need to know an answer in order to decide whether you get an award or not, or it's feedback for a bigger award, you'll want to make sure you at least have somebody there to try to help them out, rather than them keep trying to find you and not finding you, and then them having to guess at the answer. Last but not least, thanks your coaches, teachers, and parents. They've put in a lot of time. Some have put in money for this. They've shuttled you guys around if you're not old enough to drive. They enjoy this. You're their kids. They love you. And have fun. You've made it to the state tournament. There's a lot of kids out there on teams that really wish they were there, and they aren't. So take a little time, have some fun. There's gonna be a innovation fair where there'll be a lot of cool stuff. Enjoy yourself. Just like the sign says, have fun. And I believe that's it. The cute little, everybody likes puppies and kittens. It's supposed to relax them. So here's your, take a breath. You got a couple days yet before state. Just relax. You'll do good. Any questions?
So there have been a number of questions in the chat that John Hines has been replying to. So folks, please do look through the chat. There are a lot of questions going on in there.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Let me get over there. I'll get out.
And Adam, so besides Jim, there are also Adam Jules and John Hines and Laura Irvine, who are also head judges on the call tonight.
You called us what, Norm?
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
what?
Head referees, man. Oh, sorry, boy, that was bad. And for people who might have joined late, this was recorded and will be linked on the website hopefully by tomorrow. So if you need to catch something, you can. So just a couple other things. When you get there, the pits and the performance space will all be in the Roy Wilkins Arena or auditorium. So follow the signs to get down to that. We will obviously have signage there too. The judging for Friday night will be done up in conference rooms in the River Center, and there'll obviously be signs to that also. There are concessions there. One thing I should point out that we just recently found out, similar to the XL Energy Center, the River Center and Roy Wilkins Arena has cashless their concessions. So you will need to have some sort of electronic payment form, credit card, to buy concessions for lunch or snacks and everything at River Center or at the Roy Wilkins Arena.
There's just to add on to what John had here about the trapping, there is a post in the forum that further defines it, because one team brought up that the main trapping is only in regards to robots, Here's where the forum went and further enhanced it and said they applied a definition that says it also includes pinning cones against. I'm assuming that if a robot barely ends up pushing the signal cone just past the center line during autonomous, that would not be illegal. That would be legal and not penalized. That's correct. That's been addressed in the forum. Yes, Adam brings up a very good point there, that last one. Very good.
Can I ask something real quick? So in the trapping definition, it's referring to trapping as an offensive move. If we were picking up from the wall and our robot has contact with the cones, pushing it up against the wall, would that be considered trapping?
Yes, but they're saying you can't push the cones against the walls.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
On top of Adam's look through the inspection and everything like that, make sure that you're also taking a look at the self-inspect in both the robot controller and driver station apps as well. There are lots of items in there that are going to make it a lot easier to get through inspection. As long as it's all green there, we'll have a very easy field inspection as well.
Yes, that is correct. The movement of the cone is cumulative. Now, once again, you have to see how it's going. Let's say you move it a half inch to the right one time, then a half inch to the left the next time. And at no time it goes 1 inch away from the original starting point of the cone stack, then you're fine. So you can move it a half inch and then back a half inch, out a half inch, back a half inch. As long as it doesn't go, which now is 1.5 inches, but you haven't moved it away from 1.5 inches away from the original starting point.
All right, it seems like most of the questions have been answered. And so I'd like to thank you all for joining in this evening. And head referees, thank you for joining and preparing all this stuff. And wish you all much success this coming weekend at state tournament. And remember, there will be a short drivers meeting Saturday morning at 7:30 in the morning before matches start. If something else comes up before then. But remember to look through the rules and the forums yourself to find answers.
And then, as always, throughout the day on Saturday, if you see us and have questions, come to the question box during tournament or come up and talk to us beforehand if you have questions.
Yep. There will be question boxes and head referees on both the Nano and the Galaxy. Those are our two divisions, sides of the field, to answer any questions you have. If there's nothing else, then great. Thank you very much, everybody. And we'll see you Friday afternoon, evening.
Yeah. Good night. Good luck, guys.